Hi, folks. It's Stephen here from Engage People. You're very welcome to today's videocast. So the purpose of today's videocast is to speak about onboarding. As you may have seen from some of my posts on LinkedIn recently, there's been a few articles around different areas of onboarding. And today I invited my colleague, Brian Cullinan, on today. How are you, Brian?
Not too bad, thanks, Stephen. You?
Yeah, great. Thanks very much. I know you're in the office and I'm at home, so we are, and we've kind of vice versa. We've both been in and out throughout the last couple of months. So, just in general, Brian, how have you found the last few months working from home and then working in the office?
Sure. So it's been an interesting few months, obviously, to start a new job, initially remotely, and then obviously adopting a more blended approach after that. But thankfully, with a bit, I suppose, a bit of careful planning from each of us in terms of our own individual arrangements and so on, it's worked out quite well. So I'm quite happy with it at the
Yeah,
moment.
good stuff. Good stuff. Great. So, do you want to introduce yourself, Brian, just to start off? Maybe just give an overview of your background, and then we'll just get into the kind of benefits and challenges that you may have found around onboarding.
Sure. So I'm originally from Tipperary. I'm a recent graduate from UCC as well. My own background, I suppose, would be a family business one. So I was, I suppose, well adjusted to pitching in and working hard and stuff, which was obviously quite useful when I hit the ground with Engage back in September. So like that, I've been here the best part of 3 months now at this stage.
Yeah, very good, very good. Okay, and great. And I know you actually went through the interview process through Odro with ourselves, and that's how you actually got hired, was based on the initial video screenings and interviews. So how did you find all that? Because I know it's quite new to a lot of people. We're in a kind of a new world, and that's probably going to come. It might be the norm for the next 6 months to 12 months. So how did you find the process from a personal point of view?
Sure. So, like most people, I suppose, video interviews and video interviewing was new to me. I suppose where Audrey stood out above and beyond, I suppose, your regular software programs like Zoom, for example, was it's bespoke to recruitment. So, from a hiring process, it was a lot smoother to use and was adaptable to Engage as well. So, look, there are pros and cons, I suppose, to video interviewing, but I suppose a major pro from my point of view is being able to control my side of the screen, and the Audrey process made it a lot smoother as
Yeah,
well.
great stuff, good stuff. And just in regards to you now, you've been, I suppose, when you started and you went through that process and you got the role, you were hired then for a number of weeks. How long were you how long were you actually onboarding for from remotely?
So the first 2 weeks I onboarded fully remotely, and then we continued the process, training and so on, between a mix of blended and homework.
Yeah, very good. And what was your kind of routine then when you were working from home? I suppose like it was 2 weeks. So how did you manage your day? What was your kind of setup like? From
Sure. So the remote onboarding obviously is a critical piece, and it's as a new hire, it's your first impression of the company you're going to work for. And I suppose I was lucky in a sense that there was a lot of preparation done into putting together an organized schedule. And I suppose a key part of my remote onboarding was mixing it between obviously formal conversations and formal meetings and training around the company and around recruitment, I suppose, as a new starter in the industry, and then also less formal events, which will be typical when you start in an in-person office environment as well. And being able to build that into the onboarding was really, really important at the start.
Yeah. And how did you find the communication piece? I know we obviously have Microsoft Teams, Outlook. There's various different platforms that we use. Did you find they were all very well streamlined, that it was easy for you to just, you didn't feel alone or anything at that stage where you could reach out to one of your colleagues and speak to people if you need assistance, or how did you find all that?
Yeah, so I think that's a really, really important piece that teams have been able to adapt and use different methods of communication to replace the first in-person conversations that new hires will have, and then the subsequent conversations they might have with over a cup of tea or coffee 6 months down the line or 3 months down the line, and being able to, I suppose, build in a culture that scheduling a Teams call or a video call is part of the business, and that's acceptable as a way to either collaborate with colleagues or have a private conversation with a manager or supervisor as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Because I know even from a social side, we actually have a meeting later on today. As you know, we've an engaged people social hour, as we call it. So we chat about Netflix recommendations and stuff like that. Some people's choices are, a little bit out there, but it's good to see the kind of mix and to see what people are doing, I suppose, outside of work, just to kind of, because you do miss that from the office, and it can be a little bit different from work from home. So going back to, I suppose, your daily routine, Brian, like what did you do for taking breaks or recharge yourself throughout the day? What did you find was beneficial on that side?
Sure. So obviously, when you're working in an office, most companies you'll have a scheduled break in the middle of the day and so on. And I suppose when you're working remotely, it's so important that as a new hire, you can learn to adapt and build that into your day as well. So I would be a big runner. I go for a run a couple times a week. And I think especially when you're working remotely and you're on a laptop or a second screen most of the day, it's so important to get outside and get breaks for your eyes. So you're getting physical exercise, but you're also getting breaks in the screen as well. And I suppose a big issue that we see in the business from an employee point of view is being able to separate their work time, their home time too. When they shut the laptop screen at 6, 7, or 8 o'clock in the evening, that's it for the day, and they're fully switched off from that point, and that's really important as well.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah, I found that myself as well. Yeah, I think that the walks and obviously, when I was living in the city centre, I would have been walking to work, and lunchtime you get out for a walk, and sometimes after work you go for a run, and sometimes when you're back at home that can go out the window. So it is important to keep to that schedule, that same schedule as you said. That's a great point. And I suppose going to the working environment part, on a day-to-day basis, Brian, like when did you thrive the most? Like when you collaborated with other team members or when you had time by yourself? What was kind of your best time, do you think?
So I think being able to work with some of the colleagues in the team, yourself included, Stephen, was really, really important at the start. Being a new industry and being a new business as well, that was really, really essential at that time. And then I suppose over the course of the last 3 months, obviously in recruitment, a lot of our time is spent engaging with candidates or engaging with clients, and that's generally on an individual basis. But equally, there's been times in the last 3 months where we've all pitched in together, to maximize the effort that engaged people's putting in for some of our clients as well.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff. And is there anything like is there any standout benefits or challenges, I suppose, Brian, that you really came across that you found difficult, or anything that you found really enjoyable working from home or onboarding, I suppose, remotely?
Sure. So there's pros and cons to all of this. A big con that a lot of people will experience at some point would be an internet connection or so on. But I think the scheme of things, that's a relatively minor point. And I think, we only notice the internet not working when it isn't not working. We don't appreciate it when it is. But I think generally speaking, the remote onboarding piece, look, it can be regarded as a massive challenge and something that requires huge investment of time and resources. When in reality, I suppose, a carefully thought out plan and using systems that are already there in place creatively can actually put together a very, very successful onboarding program.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. And is there anything, yeah, like you'd, I suppose, having gone through the whole system, is there anything you'd recommend improving, I suppose, or from a client maybe to watch out if there's a client or a candidate maybe watching this video, and they're a little bit nervous about onboarding remotely, or they've obviously never been through it before? Is there anything that you would say to them maybe to help them along the process or improve? Like I know, speaking to some of my clients that have onboarded, there's a lot of personal touch where maybe one of the directors has went out and actually delivered the laptop and all the stuff to the candidate, obviously at a social distancing space, but just that, there's a personal touch that somebody's, they felt that there's been contact from someone in the company. Otherwise, it could come in the post or could come out and you don't get that same interaction. So is there anything along that side, I suppose, that you might find, you could recommend or improve on?
So I think the personal touch and trying to replicate that as much as possible is really, really important. And I think, look, being able to look back and ask the most recently onboarded employee, what worked for you, what didn't work, is so important, so that you're constantly evolving your remote onboarding solution, that it's not just something that's thought of once and implemented time and time again the same way, that it's constantly evolving, which is very straightforward to do when you're using agile technologies. And I suppose from a candidate point of view, in terms of something to be looking forward to, it can vary, but obviously, in my own experience, the remote onboarding piece, given that it was carefully thought out and implemented in a practical way, I suppose, was a really, really successful option.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff. Okay, great. Is there anything else, I suppose, before we wrap up? I just wanted to do obviously a short video on the ins and outs, but is there anything you'd like to add from your side, Brian, or anything you'd like to mention on regarding maybe the onboarding in general itself? Because I know obviously, candidates are going to be watching this, so it's important to kind of give out as much information as we can.
Sure. So, look, I think we ourselves here in the team have put a lot of effort into adapting to remote working and embracing the agile tech that's out there now, and implementing that with some of our clients as well. So, like we touched on, the Audra system that we use ourselves internally and offer as well externally at the start. I think some of the team have put huge effort into putting together resources as well that we offer as well. Remote onboarding guidebooks as well in particular, which a lot of work went into at the start of the pandemic, which has proved very, very useful for candidates and clients alike, in fact, as an additional resource.
Yeah, great, good stuff. And just to touch on that, I suppose we do have an ebook on remote onboarding on our website, which is engagepeople.ie. So feel free to download that and use it. And if you have any questions, you can get in contact with myself. It's Stephen at engagepeople.ie, and I'm sure Brian, my colleague here as well, would be happy to assist you in any way we can. Brian, listen, I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man, and you're up and running with your desk there at the moment. It's great to see you performing so well. You've been a great addition to the team. Really appreciate you coming on today. I think this is your first video interview, so I'm sure it's the first of many. So well done.
Thanks very much, Stephen.
Cheers. Great. Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
Chat to you soon.